Chevro. We pick it up on the bottom of Chavdalit Amid Beis. I apologize, I'm not there live with everyone. Baruch Hashem for Simchais. We're pre-recording in the event that the chuppah runs into 8 o'clock. I wanted to make sure we could air this at the right time. Shkoyach Rav Ari for facilitating. So we're holding on the bottom of Chavdalit Amid Beis. We're in the middle of discussing a sukkah inside the walls, inside trees. The trees are the walls. And to start off with one question, Rav Menachem asked last night, what exactly did the Gemara mean that the chiddush is, that the novelty of our Mishnah is? You would think that maybe there's a gezerah, there's a decree that you might come to use the walls, kamash malan, that you're allowed to have the sukkah within the trees. But wait, you're using the walls, you're using the trees. So that's where that Rashi that you pointed out is explaining. What Rashi says is laniach alav kelav. That the concern is you might actually use the tree. What does that mean, use the tree? I might take my hat and put it on the wall, which is a tree. I can't do that on Shabbos. Everyone knows the famous story with the Chazayin Ish. He took off his jacket, he hung it on a tree, and then he couldn't take it off. He was sitting there in the Russian winter without a coat. That's usage of the tree. The fact that the tree is my sukkah wall, the chiddush here is that's not called usage. Someone else mentioned last night, forgive me, I don't remember whom. How is this different? Rav Shashi brought it up also, someone else as well. Then the Mishnah back of Chav Beis and Beis. Over there we learned that the tree as well is an integral ingredient in your sukkah. We discussed that Rashi says the tree is a support, but Taisa says it's an actual wall, and the truth is, I'm leaving this as a shayla. Many Rishonim Achronim deal with what the difference in these cases are. Not such a simple answer, so we're going to leave it as a beautiful ha'ara. So you pick up on the bottom of Chavdalit Amid Beis. I'm going to go back 2 lines to reread the case of the Pasei Bira'is. Ta Shema, says the Gemara. We are 10 lines from the bottom, or 8 lines. First one line is Ba'ilon. Tashma Hayisham Ilon Oy Geder. We have a tree or a block, Oy Mechitz Zakanim, or some reeds. Nidan Mishum Diyumad. They have a din of a diyumad. Again, what is a diyumad? That is, we have our well. We have our area that I want to drink from. Here's going to be my well. The problem is, this is one rishus and here's another rishus. So we learned that you can make these corner pieces around the well, a imaginative mechitza, and then it's considered as if it's enclosed. Then I'm allowed to drink from it. So if one of my corners, instead of having an actual corner piece, what do I have? I have some reeds sitting over there. Says the Braisa, it's kosher. Why is it kosher? Diyumad means literally a double wall. It's like a corner piece. Says the Gemara, why is it kosher? Reeds swing to and fro. And the whole yesod, the whole idea, the foundational rule that we learned yesterday was that any mechitza, any partition that blows back and forth is not a good mechitza. Answers the Gemara, Hasamnami, no, it's kosher. The reason is that again you weave in between these reeds to make it strong that it's not going to sway. Ta Shema. And again we have another kasha, very similar kasha, but each one has its own fine nuances. Says the Gemara, Ilon hamisach al haaretz. We have a tree that's basically leaning over, just like this. This is how my tree looks. The tree is a mesach. It's forming a canopy. I don't have my picture book. If you guys do, please open it up. But this is actually a pretty good depiction. The tree is forming a canopy over the land. What's the halacha? My fingers are going to be the branches. If the branches are within the ground 3 tfachim, as you see over here, it's within the ground 3 tfachim. What's the din of 3 tfachim? We've learned this many times. It's a lavud. So if it's in 3 tfachim, halachically, how do we view this? As if it's all the way to the ground. So my tree now is forming a form of covering over the ground. What is the halacha? Then metaltlin tachtav, I'm allowed to carry underneath. If I go inside this tree, I sneak inside over here, and I'm standing inside over here, I look up and there's trees surrounding me on all sides. What's the halacha? I'm allowed to carry underneath it. Asks the Gemara, these branches are going to sway to and fro. So why am I allowed to carry underneath it? The rule that any time a partition sways should disallow me from carrying underneath it. Answers the Gemara, the answer that we're already anticipating. What's the case? The case is that you wove between these branches and you made it strong so it's not going to sway. Asks the Gemara, if you did that, if you weaved between it, then what? That means you made a wall. If you made a wall, you made a proper partition, you made a proper canopy over yourself. You should be able to carry throughout the entire area. Who says you can't? Alama, again, Alma with a hey is not Alma, it's Alama. Why? 2 lines on the bottom. Amar Ravuna Breder Yeshua, Ravuna Breder Yeshua teach us, Ein mitaltalin ba, you're not allowed to carry underneath this canopy area, Ella base sasayim, only 2 saw. So this gets involved in a large discussion in Masechah Shabbos, that of course, that midaraisa, I can't carry, obviously, in Rosh Hashanah. And anytime I have 4 walls, as you see some walls around me, the little booth I'm sitting in, anytime I have walls, what's the halacha? The halacha is, it has a din of a Rosh Hashanah, a private domain, and I'm allowed to carry. However, this is only if these walls were built to dwell within. If the walls were not built to dwell within, for whatever reason there are walls, then there's a new halacha that you're only able to carry only if it's up to 2 sa large. 2 sa is approximately 5,000 square amos, pretty big, but it's only if it's built for residential purposes. So if I have this massive warehouse that was not built for residential purposes, it's built for storage perhaps and other reasons, big discussion, Masechah Shabbos, even though there are walls, if it's bigger than 5,000 square amos, I can't carry within it. So what's the question? We have our droop down tree and said in the Bryce over there, Ravuna Breder Yeshua taught us, you only could carry within this area if it's up to 2 besa, up to 5,000 square amos. But if these massive drooping trees that encompass an area more than 5,000 square amos, then you cannot carry underneath it. The question is, why not? If I went and I wove between the walls with hoots of a daphne with these leaves and these twigs, what did I do? I just enclosed it for residential purposes. I just went and I created walls. So if I created walls, why can I not carry 100% and have a din of a private dwelling? I'd like to explain it one more time. I know that was a complicated concept. Again, when I build 4 walls for me to live in, for me to do whatever I want to do in, then as a din of Rosh Hashanah, I could carry within it. But if I build 4 walls for a different purpose, which we're going to expand upon this in a moment, then the halacha is you only could carry up to 2 sa, up to 5,000 square amos. The brisa of the tree hanging down over the ground said you only could carry, because why? Up to 2 sa. Why did we think? We thought simply because you didn't enclose it for residential purposes. It's a tree. But ask the Gemara, if we're now explaining that it's not a simple tree, but rather I wove in between the branches. So what did I do? I created a dwelling. So I should be able to carry 100%. Answers the Gemara on the top line of Chavei Amar Aleph. You know what the reason is? Mishum davidira chetashmisheho le'avir. Explains the Gemara. If you look at the second line of Rashi, Rashi says that this area, this tree dwelling that you just created, was not created only for the air. What does that mean? It was created for a watchman, that a watchman could sit within this hut and he could look out and guard the field. So even when I went and I made these hoots of a daphne, I wove between the branches of this tree around me, I did not do it to protect within this area. I did it so that a watchman could sit here and look outward. So the novelty, the chiddush that we're learning is that even though it was created by man, and it was created to be within, but if it was created for the outside, it was created for the avir, then the din is, says the Gemara, you could only carry within it 2 base saw 5,000 square amos. So we're learning a massive chiddush within this din of something created by man, even though it's created by man and it's created to be within. But because it's created to be within, to help without, to help the avir, to help the airspace, then it's not considered like it's created from within. So even though I wove between these branches, still I could only carry up to 2 saw underneath it. Says the Gemara, Tashema, one last case. Shavas Betel Shugavaya Asara. If someone decided on Shabbos he's living on a mount, tail is a mount, which is 10 tefachim high. And it's between 4 amos and 2 beisa large. Or similar, if he has a clef chiseled into a mountain, that is 10 tefachim deep. And again, it's 4 amos until 2 beisa. And this is the case that we need. We'll read this again tomorrow, but just to get to the raya. So too, if I have standing grain, kama is standing grain, kitsura. Kama kitsura, reaped grain, vishiboiles, and stalks, makifais isai that are surrounding him, also 10 tefachim high. Mahalich as kula v'chutzla alpayamam. It creates a rishus, and it can mahalich as kula, it can walk and carry within the entire area, and outside of it 2,000 amos. So what's the question? Without getting involved in the nitty gritty, which we'll speak about more tomorrow, we see over here it's great. It's stalks of grain, and yet it says it creates a partition. Afal gav de kazal vasi, even though it seemingly sways. Answers the Gemara. Asnami davin labutzav edafni. We're discussing that he again wove in between it to make it a strong wall. We're going to stop over here to give a Baruch Hashem a few minutes, as everyone wants to start chazing right away. Amazing Ashrecha. Again, apologize I can't be there in person. Siyat Shemaya, looking forward for tomorrow night.